Welcome to the Explainer. All right, today we're building your defensive playbook. We're going to pull back the curtain on those subtle, and yeah, sometimes not so subtle, psychological games that people play at work, so you can protect not just your career, but your sanity too.
I know, it's a pretty startling question, right? But the thing is, these quiet power plays, they happen in offices every single day, and often they're so subtle you might just brush them off. But understanding them, well, that's the absolute first step to taking back control.
Okay, and this slide? This is key. It defines our whole approach today. See, we're not here to teach you tricks to use on other people. Not at all. We're here to help you recognize them when they're used on you. Think of it like we're building you a shield, not a sword. Once you see the patterns, they become pretty much powerless against you.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the unwritten rules of the workplace. Then we'll dive deep into specific tactics, from twisting your reality to totally hijacking your emotions. And we'll finish up with what you're really here for, a defensive toolkit you can literally start using the second this explainer is over.
All right, let's kick things off with a fundamental truth about any workplace. Look, being great at your job, that's only half the battle. If you can't see the invisible currents of human dynamics flowing around you, you're leaving yourself totally exposed, no matter how skilled you are.
Okay, so now we're diving into our first set of tactics. And these are especially sneaky because they're designed to make you question what you know is true. Their whole purpose is to destabilize your own perception of reality.
First up, we have gaslighting. Now, this is a really nasty one. It's where someone intentionally warps reality to make you doubt your own memory, even your own sanity. They just chip away at your confidence piece by piece. You know, like a manager promises you the lead on a project, but when you bring it up later, they say, "I never said that, you must have misunderstood." If that happens enough, you start to question everything.
Just imagine this for a second. You bring up a totally valid concern and your boss just dismisses it with, "You're being too sensitive." Or you remember a clear instruction and a coworker insists, "You're misremembering that conversation." See, these aren't just disagreements. They are calculated lines designed to shift all the blame and make you think you're the one with a problem.
Okay, this next one, it taps into a really basic human instinct, our deep-seated need to belong. Manipulators know we hate being the odd one out. So what do? They just invent a group consensus that doesn't even exist to pressure you into falling in line. By saying everyone else agrees, they create this powerful illusion of social proof. It immediately makes you feel isolated, like you're the only one who sees a problem. It pressures you to just go along with it, even if your gut is screaming that something's wrong. A really simple defense here is to just ask clarifying questions. Something like, "Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that from Sarah or Tom. When did you all discuss this?" It gently calls their bluff without a big confrontation.
Now here is a super clever and often overlooked trap. Manipulators know that we have this natural instinct to correct things that are wrong. So if they want information that you might not want to share, they won't ask for it directly. Nope. Instead, they'll say something that's just a little bit wrong. Maybe they'll get a project budget or a deadline wrong on purpose, because they know you'll feel this irresistible urge to jump in and correct them with the real details.
And that little trick leads us perfectly into our next category of tactics, what I call the pressure play. These moves are all about creating artificial urgency and a false sense of obligation to basically force you to do what they want.
All right, let's talk about forced teaming. This one is so subtle but really powerful. It's when a person uses words like we or us to create this instant, unearned sense of a shared experience. It makes it seem like you're on the same team facing the same problem right from the get-go.
And boom, there it is, the whole playbook in 3 steps. Suddenly, what was just the manager's staffing problem is reframed as our shared team crisis. By creating this fake we, they make it incredibly difficult for you to say no without feeling like you're not a team player.
You know, fear is maybe the most powerful human motivator, and manipulators absolutely know how to use it to stay in control. This is the classic move of creating a climate of anxiety and uncertainty, just to make sure everyone does what they're told.
So a manager might say something that sounds kind of innocent, like, "This is a high-visibility project, and senior leadership is watching who really steps up during this crunch time." They're not directly threatening your job, but they are planting a powerful seed of fear, the fear of being seen as uncooperative to make sure you do exactly what they want. Okay, now we're getting into the tactics that can feel the most personal because they're designed to directly target and weaponize your own feelings against you.
Let's be clear, a guilt trip isn't just some offhand comment. No, it's a deliberate strategy,
A manipulator will take a past mistake, or maybe a favor they did for you, and hold it over your head, constantly reminding you of it to make you feel like you're forever in their debt.
You hear that? The goal here isn't to fix what happened last quarter. It's all about gaining leverage over you today. By keeping you trapped in a state of guilt, they control your future actions. A really great, calm response can be something like, I've definitely taken the lessons from last quarter's deadline seriously. Let's focus on the best way to handle this current task with the resources we have now.
Oh yeah, we have all seen this one in action. A manipulator will take a tiny issue, a small typo in an email, being 5 minutes late for a meeting, and blow it completely out of proportion. They create this massive emotional reaction to put you on the defensive, making you feel vulnerable and way more likely to give in to whatever they want just to make the conflict stop.
All right, so you can spot the plays now. That's huge. Now let's get to the good part, your defensive toolkit. This is your quick reference guide for recognizing these plays right in the moment, when it really counts.
Just think of this as your mental checklist during meetings or one-on-one conversations. If you hear someone making you doubt your memory, or using we to talk about their problem, or bringing up the past to get their way now, a little red flag should pop up in your head. Remember, just recognizing what's happening is like 90% of the battle.
And really, this is the most important thing to remember out of everything we've talked about. These tactics, they only work in the dark. Manipulators absolutely rely on your confusion and your self-doubt. The second you shine a light on the game they're playing, just by seeing it for what it is, their power just starts to fade away.
So after you've spotted one of these encounters, here's what you do. 4 simple steps to rebuild your foundation. First, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Second, document key conversations. A quick, factual email summary can be your best friend. Third, set firm boundaries. Know where your job ends and someone else's problem begins. And finally, take a minute to reflect on your own triggers. Understanding what makes you vulnerable is the key to protecting those weak spots in the future.
So I'm going to leave you with this final question. Just taking a moment to reflect on your own experiences with this stuff. That is the first and, honestly, the most powerful step you can take toward building your immunity. It's what transforms you from a pawn in someone else's game into a player who knows all the rules and can navigate the entire board with confidence.